It's Matt Slick Live. Matt is the founder and president of the Christian Apologetics Research Ministry, found online at CARM.org. When you have questions about Bible doctrines, turn to Matt Slick Live for answers. Taking your calls and responding to your questions at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Everybody, welcome to the show. It's me, Matt Slick, and you're listening to Matt Slick Live. If you want to give me a call, all you got to do is dial 877-207-2276. Give me a call. I want to hear from you. Whew, boy, okay. For the video part of this, I just spent an hour working on lighting and trying to do some things. And I had a green screen up. I couldn't quite get it to work right. I had another black background. It just didn't look quite right. Going back to what we had, trying lighting a little bit differently, adjustments on brightness, contrast, just something to do. And I'm going to try something else after the show. Lighting's everything. I need all the help I can get. Hey, look, if you want to give me a call, all you have to do is dial 877-207-2276. All right. So last night, just to let you know, excuse me. There we go. Last night, we had our first CARM online, or I should say online CARM seminar, the first one that we've ever had. And Luke Wayne, who works with CARM, he's a great guy. Seriously, does great work. And he did the footwork, figuring out how to use Zoom. And so we had Andrew Rappaport, Eli Ayala, we had Eddie Delcor, and Tony Costa on last night. And it was broadcast live, and it was broadcast to anybody who wanted to watch. Now, the reason we didn't broadcast it out, what we're going to do in advance too much, is because I've been having internet problems, and this was just an attempt to see how it would work. And Joanne says the show was so good, and Carrie says great resolution today on me. See, I don't know if that's good or not. Notice she didn't say good picture; it's a good resolution. So that's it's all just a matter of how you want to look at it. Matt is on. I'm excited, says John Brown. And Red says, hey, Matt, how are you? And Haps says, the Slickster. And Jimmy Smythe says, hello, Saints. We have people coming in. So there you go. Hey, if you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. Now, if you watched last night's shindig that we did, please, if you want, give me a call. And also, if you're interested, you could just email us at info@carm.org, and say, yeah, it was muy goodo, or whatever you want to say. We want to get a little bit of feedback. It was our first time. We're trying to learn the ropes. And let's see. By the way, I'll be preaching in at a church. I get the name of the church. I forgot the name of the church in Provo, Utah, first Sunday of October. So I'll be down in the Salt Lake City area for a few days. If anybody wants me to come to a study or speak at your church, whatever, let me know. Just contact us at info@carm.org. All right. I think that's it. Okay. Whew, man. So much to do. Hey, let's get on the lines here with Ken from Utah. Hey, Ken, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
Sure.
In Revelations, it says he's going to raise the dead first, but I'm under the assumption that when we die, our spirit in the blink of an eye is with him. Could you explain that?
Okay, it's a chronology issue. So the dead in Christ rise first means that those saints in Christ, those who died in faith, who died before the people who get raptured. So the people who are raptured don't die. They just get translated into heavenly bodies. And those who died before are the ones who are resurrected first in that. And so they're going to be taken up. We will meet them in the air. That's the chronology. Okay?
Okay. Well, rapture is mentioned like 9 times in the Bible, but that seems like such a subject of debate.
Yeah.
Modern day churches.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about it, when it's going to happen. Pre-tribulation rapture, there's supposed to be a 7-year tribulation period, and then people are supposed to, the pre-trib rapture view says that the Christians get raptured out of the tribulation period, and we got a pagan in there. I'll let Charlie take care of the pagan wacko loser that's in. We have people who what they do. They're children, and they act like children, and they come in, and their goal is to just be a troll, just to say things that are negative, just to say things are blasphemous, and to repeatedly do this. We get these every now and then, and somebody came in saying the Trinity's false and with some perverse stuff. This is just part of what ministry is, and this kind of a thing does happen. We don't really tell you all the time because there's just so much going on. But at least right now, it just happened again. We've had it happen a lot actually over the years. People who are just basically immature and probably demonically oppressed at the very least. Whew, okay. Well, anyway, so the pre-tribulation rapture view says the 7-year period is going to occur, and that people get raptured before or right when the tribulation period starts. The mid-tribbers say that halfway through the 7-year period, at 3.5 years, the rapture will occur, and the post-tribbers, like me, say we're going to go through it, and that the rapture is concomitant with the resurrection, return of Christ, etc. And that's the view I hold, and I hope I'm wrong. I do. I hope I'm wrong. But
yeah, I hear you. I hold the same one.
Yeah.
But he has a need for it. You know, we're supposed to be put to work, save people.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I don't really want the rapture to occur, not for a long time, and the reason is I want to serve God more. I want to do more. I want to be here as long as possible. And I want to have all my words and my steps to be for the glory of God. It's hard enough right there to have that work, and just to live as long as possible. Because a lot of people just want, hey, I just want to get raptured out. I want it over with. But I think they missed a lot of the point. Is that we're here not to wait to escape, but we're here to lift up the person of Christ. And whether you're pre or mid or post, it doesn't really matter. We are here to glorify God and to spread the gospel. And so too many people, in my opinion, say, I just want to get out of here. I don't want to get out of here. I mean, I do, but I mean.
Well, God says the same thing.
What's that?
God says the same thing. He does not. I said, God says the same thing you do. He's not in a hurry. He truly doesn't want anybody to go to hell, and he wants as many people saved as possible.
Well, there's it's a theological Pandora's box that you're knocking on there, trying to open it up. If God wants everybody to be saved, all he has to do is just reveal his glory to them. I mean, that's all he's got to do. His glory is so magnificent that people will just believe, because his glory, his perfection, his holiness are so vast that people will believe without a doubt. They will understand who Christ is, and they will affirm him. God could certainly do that. That's what he did with me when I was 17. He revealed himself in a sliver of his glory. That was it. There was no doubt at that point. It wasn't like I was forced. It's just, oh, there's the truth. It's him. That's it. And so when, not to be too difficult about this, when people say God just wants everyone to be saved, well, is that true? First of all, we have to ask it. And people say, well, of course he does. That's just how it is. Show me that in Scripture. And, we said, well, he wants all men to be saved. Well, there is a sense in which God can desire one thing and arrange something else. So in 2 Peter 3:9, he wants all to be saved. Yet in Mark 4:10 through 12, Jesus speaks in parables so people will not be saved. So there are a lot of subdivisions, cul-de-sacs to go down theologically and explore in this question. But generically, God does want people to be saved. But here's the thing. God, maybe this is what it is. God can certainly just reveal himself in his glory. That's doable. Bang, he can just reveal himself. But why doesn't he? Maybe it's because he wants us, the disciples, to be the light and to be the reflections of his glory. Maybe that's what's going on, because I think with the idea of the elect, that we are going to receive great reward in heaven. Not that that's what we're seeking for, but that this is what is going to happen. And so I think he uses us. I think we need to be more involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, in the end time. I mean, people don't want to go through it, but
No.
we have a purpose.
Yeah, we do. And I think we should embrace that purpose. I really do think we should. We should embrace it.
We need to be prepared, you
Yes.
know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
Well, I love you, Matt. And I wish all well, and it's nice you're going to be in Utah. I'll see if what are you going to be doing in Utah?
I'll be preaching in Provo, at a church in Provo. I forgot the name of the church. I know the guy. He's a great guy, great pastor guy. But I'll get more information out of it. But that's what I'll be preaching there. Okay.
Yeah, that used to be such an LDS town. It's opened up, though.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has, and I'm grateful that it has. Yeah. So
there's at least 1 million more people here. It's not a little town anymore.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It used to be that Utah was predominantly Mormon, and now, last I heard years ago, it was half and half. So we'll just see what happens and stuff. But I'll be preaching there, and like I said, if anybody wants me to come by their church and talk or whatever, just contact me, and I can do that. Or if people want me to go mess up a Bible study, just kind of go in and just ask difficult questions. I've done that before, where people had me go into a study. I remember one time in a church, they asked me, "Hey, could you go in and give the people a hard time?" And I said, "Sure, I'll give them a hard time." And even in a polite way, I asked them difficult questions, and they remembered it for years and years. It really shook them up. I said, "Well, how do you know this? How do you know that? Where's it say that in the Bible?" And it was a lot of fun. So anyway, but they learned out of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Okay. All right.
Well, God bless, man.
God bless. All right, we'll see you. All right, man. Well, that's Ken from Utah. We have nobody waiting right now. So we have 5 open lines. If you want to give me a call, all you need to do is dial 877-207-2276. I want to hear from you. Give me a call. And like I said, we did a seminar last night. We discussed the issue of what is the present state of apologetics in the Christian church. And I asked the panelists what I thought was an interesting question. On a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being pathetic and 10 being awesome, how would you rate apologetics in the Christian church overall? And I'll give you the scores that they said afterwards. Hey, folks, 4 open lines. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
It started off as a normal day. I felt fine when I arrived at the plant.
Ruth Junius's life was about to change.
Then I dropped my keys. They kept slipping out of my hand. My arm felt numb. A coworker asked me if I was okay, and I couldn't speak. I started to get scared.
Ruth was having a stroke. People around her weren't sure what to do.
They thought I should go home or lie down, but I knew something was very wrong. I wrote 911 on a piece of paper with my other hand, and someone called for me.
Because everyone acted quickly, doctors at the hospital were able to give Ruth treatment that started to reverse the symptoms.
Within a few minutes, I was talking again. I didn't know a thing about stroke before I had one. Now I make sure that my friends and family know all the signs of stroke so they'll get help fast if they need it.
No stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. Call 1-800-352-9424 for more information. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health.
The war on women. Who's really waging this war that we hear about in these political ads?
This is True Commentary with Stu Epperson, host of Truth Talk Live.
I have to tell you, I get pretty upset when I think about the women that could have found the cure to cancer, that could have won the Nobel Peace Prize, that could have been president of these United States if they were allowed to live. And yet, so many of these politicians are attacking other politicians who are pro-life because they're waging a war on women. Wait a second. How about your war on women, Mr. or Mrs. Candidate, when you not only want them to be aborted or support pro-abortion measures, but you stick the taxpayers with the bill and you support people like Planned Parenthood? We better get this right and wonder who's really waging
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores. Learn more at lastwordsofjesus.com.
We live in an on-demand world. Time, weather, meals, and content. That's why the Truth Network has the Truth Podcast Network. Some of your favorite Truth Network programs, plus some that are podcast only. Rich content that is rich in the Word.
The Christian Car Guy Podcast with Robbie Dilmore. A broken world means broken down cars. But stick with Robbie, and he'll keep you on all roads that lead to Christ. Fun, friends in the Lord, and testimonies. The Christian Car Guy Podcast with Robbie Dilmore at truthnetwork.com.
Come on, the meeting's already started.
Sometimes it's important.
Last call, boarding gate number 9.
Sometimes it's urgent.
Tripper
Sometimes it's vital. Hospital treatment within 1 hour of a stroke can prevent lifelong disability. If you notice someone experiencing sudden weakness on one side or having a problem speaking, walking, or seeing, call 911 fast. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. If you want to give me a call, we have 4 open lines, 877-207-2276. Let's get, before we do it, I'm going to say hi to Mark. He came over today. Hey, Mark. Hey, man, I'm waving. He knows who he is. All right, hey, let's get on the air with Nick from Sydney, Ohio. Nick, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks, Matt. I love listening to you. My first question is, at what point in biblical history was Satan thrown out of heaven?
Don't know.
Like before this. So, okay, I couldn't find anything. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, we don't know. Nothing in the Bible tells us exactly when. He just was. And there are theories about when he was cast out of heaven. One of them is that he was cast out, let's see, at the fall, just at the time of Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. That's one theory. The other one is way sometime in the distant past, before the creation of the universe. Well, excuse me, after the creation of the universe, obviously, because the angels were there. But some say way early on, and some say just later on. But we don't know. The Bible just doesn't tell us.
Okay. My second question. I grew up Catholic. By the grace of God, I got saved about 30 years ago.
All right.
Now, do a lot of those Catholic traditions, didn't a lot of those, correct me if I'm wrong, 325, the Catholic system was set up by Constantine, and didn't he put a lot of those traditions together to keep peace between the Christians and the pagans? Is that where a lot of that stuff comes from?
That's not what I understand. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a historian, so I can't tell you for sure, and I don't really study history very much. But I haven't heard that before. Except I have heard it said that the Jehovah's Witnesses have said it, and there's not a group trying to remember. Well, they said Constantine did this, Constantine did that. He's the one who created the Trinity. He's the one who created the idea of Jesus as God. He's the one who, and it's just not true. They just say these things. They throw everything at Constantine. So I'm trying to remember, but I can't. Anyway, no, I don't hold that position. Don't affirm that as being valid.
Okay. Any idea where I could find anything like that out? What any research? Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Just look up the Council of Nicaea 325. and see what you
Okay.
find, because that's what it is. In fact, I've been in the building where they had that conference. How about that?
Okay, good deal.
Mhm.
I was listening to CARM today, and I think it was an older. You had some guys that came online, and you guys were talking about not the Reformation. It's slipping my mind. Being Reformed Christian.
Reformed theology.
Or something.
Yes.
Reformed. Thank you. Reformed theology. You said you briefly mentioned something about baptism, but I kind of missed some of that. So, do you believe in infant baptism, or did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I do, but I don't believe in infant baptism the way most people kind of label it. See, I'm a covenantalist, and I try and be consistent covenantally. The Roman Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox basically say that when an infant's baptized, they're saved. They functionally are saved. I don't buy that. That's not it. In 1 Corinthians 10, 1 through 4, it talks about the people who passed through the Red Sea and they were baptized into Moses. And that phrase, baptized into Moses. I'm sorry?
I'm familiar with that.
Okay. So baptized into means to identify with. It's identification with the work of Moses. Be baptized in Christ is to identify with the work of Christ. Now, so that's one part. Another part is that in Genesis 12:3, it says, "In you, Abraham, all the nations shall be blessed." And so what I've done is I started in Genesis 12 and I started reading through up to Genesis 17. And I started paying attention to what God said is the issues of that covenant. And so in Genesis 12, 1 through 3, he talks about that. And he says in verse 7, "To your descendants I will give the land." And then I'm going to go through this. And he says in Genesis 13:14, he says, "Lift up your eyes and look, and everything you see I'm going to give to you as far as the land, and I'll make your descendants the dust of the earth," as the dust, a lot of people. And then you go to 15, and it says, "Count the stars if you're able to count them." He said, "So shall your descendants be." So we see this issue of God saying, "In you, the nations are going to be blessed." Now, Paul calls that the gospel in Galatians 3:8 when he quotes Genesis 12:3. He quotes it and it calls it the gospel. But back to Genesis 15, God said to Abraham, "Now know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that's not theirs. They'll be enslaved and oppressed, and I will judge that nation." Okay, so we know about that. And then verse 18, "On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying to your descendants, I will give this land from the river of the Egypt to the great river of Euphrates." So he's saying, this is the covenant I'm going to make to you, giving you the land. But he's already said he's going to be giving them the land, and the descendants are going to be huge. So what he's doing is ratifying the covenant that he's making with Abraham. It says in Genesis 17, he says he'll establish his covenant with him, between God and you, that's Abraham, "and I'll multiply you exceedingly. My covenant is with you, and you'll be the father of a multitude of nations." And that's when his name was changed to Abraham. So it says he'll establish his covenant with you and your descendants after you. Now that's critical because of Genesis 17:7. "I'll establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant." So he has said he's going to make a covenant with Abraham and with his descendants. And of course, the sign of the covenant is circumcision. "This is my covenant," verse 10 of Genesis 17. He says, "Which you shall keep between me and you and your descendants after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised." Now, we know why the males are circumcised for obvious reasons, but there's also the male headness, the federal headship issue. And so I won't get into that theological aspect right now. So the covenant is for the descendants in Abraham. Now, if it wasn't for Paul quoting Genesis 12:3 and calling it the gospel, and that the rest of this is the gospel message and fulfillment of the blessing of the ancestors and the increase of the land, If it wasn't for that, my position would be, I think, greatly weakened. But what I see is the Abrahamic covenant is still in effect because God, through Paul, quoted Genesis 12, in you all the nations shall be blessed. That's what he says, Genesis 12. I'm going to read Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3. And the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your country, and I'll show you a land to go to. I'll make you a great nation. I'll bless you, make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I'll bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So this is the promise that God has made. The fulfillment is through the land and circumcision, and that Abrahamic covenant is still in effect. So the issue then becomes, an infant still included in the same covenant that's still in effect. You see the logic?
Okay.
Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, have a break. You can hang up if you want, but hey, folks, we'll be right back after these messages.
3-year-old Zena's smile is as bright as her future. But there's something you wouldn't know about Zena. She was born with a cleft lip, which can make it hard to eat, talk, hear, and even breathe. Thankfully, Zena met Smile Train. Smile Train has helped millions of kids like Zena get the care they need and find their forever smiles. Because every child deserves to live their full smile story. Learn how you can help at smiletrain.org/learn.
You know, honey, I think I deserve some kind of reward.
Here, have a pickle.
Thanks. After all, I did find us the perfect house.
Have another pickle.
Thank you.
But remember, then I found out how much our house was going to cost.
Yeah, but then I found us the perfect mortgage. Got any more of these?
Sure, help yourself. But then I found out our perfect house had radon. The stuff you can't see, smell, or taste. And it's radioactive. And it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. Some dream house.
Yeah.
I need 2 pickles.
True. But then I found a phone number to call, 1-800-SOS-RADON, where you can get all the information you need to test and fix a home with a radon problem.
You did.
Yeah. And then I found out we were going to have a baby. So, you know, your study, it'd be a perfect room for my mother.
Right. Now I need a phone number to fix a home with a mother-in-law problem.
Hey.
I'm in a pickle. Did you say baby?
Do we have any ice cream?
Protect your family from radon. Make your home safer. Call 1-800-SOS-RADON. 1-800-SOS-RADON.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I've been driving trucks for a long time. Safety is my #1 priority. I know that my truck has huge blind spots. That's why I remember to check my mirrors often for smaller vehicles. Everyone can help keep our roads safe. Next time you're behind the wheel, try to avoid lingering in those blind spots. It can be dangerous. Let's all plan to share the road safely. Learn how at www.sharetheroadsafely.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Everybody, welcome to the show. It's at the bottom of the hour. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. All right, so we have nobody waiting right now. Let me continue. Oh, one person's coming in. So this issue of infant baptism, the reason I will defend it is I want Christians who are inexperienced with the idea and the theology behind it, I want them to become exposed to it. I'm not saying you have to believe it, but I want Christians to understand that there are theologically based, biblically based reasons for affirming it. And so my goal is to have people understand that there actually are biblical reasons, and that those of us who hold to it, not for salvation, but as a continuing covenant sign where the identification of that child is with Christ by the proxy of the Father, who's the federal head in the family. This is all biblical theology. Now, does it mean I'm right? Not necessarily. But I just want people to understand that there are some reasons, and to not look down your nose at some Protestants in the Reformed camp who might hold to that position if you automatically say, oh man, how could they believe that? It's so dumb. Not necessarily. I've asked some questions of some people about this topic. They've not been able to answer very well. But on the other hand, there are no instances of any infants being baptized or recorded in the New Testament. The closest that's there deals with the issue of whole households being baptized. So it's an argument by inference, but don't assume the people who hold it automatically do so just because of tradition. But there's actually a biblical basis for it. And I've not heard anybody refute it yet, but I have had people say, well, I just don't agree with it. Oh, that's fine. So I want people to be educated and to understand the reasoning inside the Christian church. All right. 4 open lines, 877-207-2276. Roger from North Carolina, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, how we doing, man?
Doing all right. Hanging in there, man. So what's going on?
Have you ever heard of the idea that Jesus covered original sin on the cross? Have you ever heard of that before?
We have to define original sin. Original sin is the sin that Adam himself, not Eve, but Adam himself underwent. And then there is a consequence of that. We find that in Romans 5:19. Or as through the one man's disobedience, the many were made sinners. That's the aorist passive indicative, were made sinners. That means that it's a past action that occurred to the many because of what Adam did. So we who are in Adam were made sinners by his rebellion, his disobedience. Adam's particular sin is atoned for by Christ. So when people say the original sin is paid for, the question then becomes, are they saying the sin is paid for, but the effects still continue? Because obviously, the effects of the sin still continue. Just as if a bad guy were to do something sinful and injure somebody, he could be forgiven, but the effects continue. And so, yes, in that sense, the original sin is paid for, and it is canceled, but the effects of that sin are propagated down through mankind, and we inherit the sinful nature. Okay?
Yeah, that's the idea that when Jesus died on the cross, he atoned for the fallenness of man. So we're born, able to accept him and able to do the things that we
hold on a
once
second.
lost.
Well, you said something. Okay, he atoned for the fallenness of man, and that's actually a non sequitur. A non sequitur is where one statement kind of joined with another aren't logically connected. So, an atonement is for sin, but fallenness deals with nature, and so a fallen person commits a sin, and Jesus atoned for the sin. And therefore, by proxy, those people who committed those sins. But to say that he atoned for our fallenness is different. It has some potential problems with the phraseology. I'm a little bit more nuanced when I talk about this kind of stuff than most people are. So that's why I'm saying it. Okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just saying. So you would agree that Jesus atoned for the fallenness of man?
Well,
we're born.
Let's discuss what does fallenness of man mean.
Human nature.
So how do you atone for human nature? I'm confused on what that means. I don't understand what to atone for.
Yeah, I had this same issue.
Okay.
The idea is that I don't know. I talked to this guy yesterday, and he was coming up with this thing where when Jesus atoned for the cross, he's made mankind no longer in a nature that they are not unable to come to him.
Oh, that's not true.
And
that's not
true. And also, he was also saying something about when Jesus atoned, and he's already gathered the elect, or something to that nature. And
yeah, it sounds to me like the guy you're talking to doesn't have a proper understanding of the theological terms and what they mean.
Yeah, I was trying to get in to say, well, he doesn't have a proper understanding of the atonement. Is the issue? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I was coming to.
Yeah.
Man, I've heard it before that original sin's been atoned for. I think Tony Evans says that, but never in a fact of a way to. You know what I mean?
Well, sin is breaking the law of God, 1 John 3:4, and our sins were transferred to Christ, 1 Peter 2:22. And so Jesus canceled the certificate of debt, the sin debt, at the cross. That's Colossians 2:14. Logic gives us a problem, because if a sin debt is canceled, it cannot be held against anybody. Whether or not someone believes or receives is irrelevant, because a sin debt canceled doesn't exist. There's nothing to accept or not accept. It's as my analogy of the coma man. He goes to the bank once a month to make his payment, his mortgage payment. And one particular month, he's in a car accident. He's in a coma for about 6 weeks and makes a miraculous recovery. But during that time, a philanthropist goes and pays his mortgage, goes to the bank and pays it off. Now, the man is still in a coma when this is done, and he has no awareness of it. And the fact is, the debt is now canceled. The debt is gone. It cannot be held to that man's account, coma man. It cannot be. He has a miraculous recovery. He wakes up, goes to the bank to pay his mortgage. He's late. And they said, no, your debt's canceled. Well, when was it canceled? About 5 weeks ago, whatever it was. Well, who did it? Can't tell you. It's anonymous, whatever. Well, I don't accept that. Doesn't make any difference. Well, I don't believe it. Doesn't make any difference. I don't receive it. Doesn't make any difference. You see, the effectiveness of the canceling of the debt is not dependent on the one who receives it, but on the one who makes it. And Jesus, God in flesh, canceled the sin debt at the cross, Colossians 2:14. So logic would require that he only canceled it for the ones given to him by the Father. Otherwise, everybody would have to go to heaven. And since people go to hell, Mark 3:29, Matthew 25:46, Revelation 14:11, people go to hell, then it cannot be that he paid the sin debt for everybody who ever lived. It cannot be that he canceled it. Simple logic.
Yeah, that's where I brought that up as well. His idea is, I think it's that when Jesus paid went to the cross, he paid to make everybody, when you're born, like I said, you're born good.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean?
Yeah. So that's, Pelagianism. Pelagianism is the teaching that a human baby born does not have a sin nature. And that's been condemned in every council, Catholic and Protestant. It's just not true.
And I kept asking him, I said, well, do you deny that, man's born fallen and, that we're not good? And he's like, no, of course men are good.
Well, the Bible says no one's good.
Babies are good.
Yeah, Romans 3:10, 11, 12, no one is good. And Ephesians 2:3 says that we are by nature children of wrath. So the person is, I'm trying to be nice, but he's ill-informed about what the scriptures actually teach on this regard. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the case.
Yeah, it really threw me a loop when he said, well, all the elect are saved already. Jesus already.
No, they're not. Yeah, he needs polishing on his terminology. Hey, there's a break. We got to go, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
All right, man. God bless. Hey, folks, wide open lines, 5 open lines. Why don't you give me a call? 877-2 72276. We'll be right back. Give me a call.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. I overdosed on heroin and I lived. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. My desire to change had finally outweighed my desire to stay the same. I felt powerless for so much of my life. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. For the first time, I finally feel like I'm exactly where I should be, where I want to be.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The life of every child is precious beyond measure. If you care for a child with a disability and have limited income and resources, help is available. Children with a physical or mental disability or who are blind may qualify for monthly cash payments through the Supplemental Security Income Program, or SSI. The program provides help to meet basic needs for food, clothing, or a place to live, and disability-related needs. It's money that can make a meaningful difference. If you're the parent or caregiver of a child or teenager you think may be eligible, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov/SSI Kids to learn how to apply today. That's ssa.gov/SSI Kids. It's real help for the children. Message produced by Social Security at U.S. taxpayer expense.
The war on women. Who's really waging this war that we hear about in these political ads?
This is True Commentary with Stu Epperson, host of Truth Talk Live.
I have to tell you, I get pretty upset when I think about the women that could have found the cure to cancer, that could have won the Nobel Peace Prize, that could have been president of these United States if they were allowed to live. And yet, so many of these politicians are attacking other politicians who are pro-life because they're waging a war on women. Wait a second. How about your war on women, Mr. or Mrs. Candidate, when you not only want them to be aborted or support pro-abortion measures, but you stick the taxpayers with a bill and you support people like Planned Parenthood? We better get this right and wonder who's really waging
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores. Learn more at Last Words. It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. We have nobody waiting right now. Why don't you give me a call, 877-207-2276. If you watched our seminar last night, our first online one, I want to hear from you. And also, I'm thinking about doing something here in the next couple of days, is doing a video tutorial on how to do an outline in Microsoft Word to teach people how to take notes and how to use the facility, the whole thing. It's really great. And I use it all the time. And so people have been saying, how do you learn all this stuff? Where do you get all this information? And I just do outlines. So that's one of the things I'm thinking about doing. All right, hold on. Turn my throat there. So we have 5 open lines. I want to hear from you. Please give me a call. All right. Now, I was talking about this issue of the atoning work of Christ. Now, a lot of times, in my opinion, this is my opinion, that people often let their emotions trump Scripture. And it's a problem. I think it happens. And so I've discovered something over the years in Bible study. What I've discovered is that if you were to take a single word and you were to study it, you can really learn a great deal of how God thinks. What's the pattern that God uses? So you could look up the phrase, for example, eternal life, or Jesus Christ, or Christ Jesus, or the word shoe, or the word work, or grace, or love. Like, for example, agape. You know, people say agape means divine love. Well, not necessarily, because Jesus says in Luke 11:43, he says, "What do you Pharisees? For you love," that's agape, "the chief seats in the synagogues and respectful greetings in the marketplaces." So he is using the word agape of their sinful love for their chief seats and various things like that. So I'm just trying to say is that, you know what, a lot of times people just make these mistakes. They just assume certain things mean certain things. Well, maybe not. That's why I say do a little bit of homework and see what the scriptures actually teach about something. I think it's an adventure to do that. I recommend people do that a lot. I really do. All right, let's get to Corey from Utah. Corey, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
A little tired, not irritable, but a little almost melancholy with a little bit of a tad of slight irritation. That's very manageable. That's how I am. Okay.
Well, golly. Yeah, it's hot everywhere. So there's this a lot of Mormons that are in the area, and I heard your show again yesterday, and they talk about how they don't really believe in a first resurrection. There's the second resurrection, and you talked about a friend of yours who, you know, the suit showed up on his doorstep and so on. But
that's right.
yeah, so I was curious, which do they think that they're free to a do-over or something? Second resurrection, what are your thoughts?
Well, from what I understand in Mormonism, everybody dies, and you either go to one of the three levels of heaven, the lowest being telestial, the middle is terrestrial, and the highest is celestial. In the celestial kingdom are three levels, and the highest is the Church of the Firstborn. And I don't know the names of the first two. Maybe Bill McKeever, if he's listening, or Eric Johnson, if he's listening, they can text me on the phone or call in and correct me, because or say, hey, this is what it is. But it was Bill who told me Church of the Firstborn is the highest level. But at any rate, okay, so when a Mormon dies, or he wants to go to the middle heaven or the celestial kingdom. And in the celestial kingdom, to get there, he's supposed to have kept celestial law. So people are in this afterlife in different positions. So someone like me who's sincere and speaks against Mormonism, I've been told that I would just be in the bottom level, but I've actually had Mormons tell me to be in the middle level also, because I'm sincere and just trying to.
Okay.
So then what happens? Second resurrection, from what I understand, is after a period of time, then in Mormonism, the spirits will be resurrected in their earthly bodies, and they will enjoy heaven, and they will enjoy earth. Now, that's what I understand it to be, but I don't know for sure, because I've heard different things over the years.
I heard something about the 1,000 years plays into this somehow, that they believe that they'll, like you said, be resurrected and live for 1,000 years, and then there'll be like a second judgment or a second resurrection.
Right.
So that's what's confusing to me.
Well, you know, we're going to have Eric Johnson on a week from today. I think it's either today or yesterday, and he's written a book, and he's an expert on Mormonism. He's a friend of mine. He's a great guy. Introducing Christianity to Mormons by Eric Johnson. And I would ask him, I'd call up and ask him. He would see what I would do to answer your question more in depth. I would just call these guys up. I call either Eric or Bill and say, hey, you know, what's about this? What is that view? Because Bill and I, we've talked about it. We've done trips together and done things together, and we've had these discussions. And so I'm going to say this, if he's listening, because he's down in the Salt Lake City area. If I'm not sure what it is, it's his fault, because I asked him. I'll just blame him. And yeah, that's what I'll do. And so we'll see. That's what I do. I try and blame others besides myself, you know, and so I can hear him right now. I can hear him. He's listening on the radio. I can hear him right now saying, Matt. That's what he does. But anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, because it was very interesting. I've heard a lot of peculiar things about they have their own security systems and their own way of doing things, and you got to be careful if you're ever part of that group and then you decide to detach yourself. I've heard of other stories that are
yes.
wild.
In fact, I'm going to, because we have nobody waiting, I'm going to retell that story. I forgot to finish what happened to that guy, but I'll retell it because we got a few minutes, and then I'll, okay?
Okay.
All right, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, God bless. All right. So a few years ago, when I had my radio show here in the area, an ex-Mormon called me up or emailed me. Anyway, we ended up getting together and having coffee. And he told me the story of what happened, and I'll tell you what the story I told you yesterday, and then I'll finish it because I can tell you what did happen to him afterwards. So his father had died, and he had to go out to the east side of Idaho here to take care of business and close accounts and, do property exchange and all that kind of, just basic stuff you got to do. Well, before he had gone out there, he had asked his bishop some questions about Mormonism. And he told me, he says, I wasn't doubting Mormonism. He said, I was just asking questions. What about this? What about that? That's all. And he said the bishop told him, don't ask questions. And that confused him because, he said, if we have the truth, then what's the problem with examining and asking questions? He says, look, you'll get in trouble if you keep asking questions. And it caused a slight rift. But he told me he was not doubting Mormonism. He just was curious. This got back, of course, to us. He told his wife. His wife was not happy about this. And so this was the extent that he told me that he was just questioning about Mormonism. He wasn't questioning Mormonism. He was questioning about it, but not questioning it. So his father died. He went out east and took care of business, was driving back and called up his wife. He'd been gone for like 3 weeks or so. And he called up his wife and said he's coming home. And she said, don't bother because we're getting a divorce. And he said, what? So he went there to the house anyway. Took him a couple hours to get there, couple, 3, whatever it was. And he finally gets there, and there's a bunch of Mormons there in suits, and they got legal paperwork. And basically they had sold the house out from underneath him or moved it into her name, I think it was. And so that he didn't have any recourse legally now. And the car or cars, that even the one he was driving, they took from him because it was no longer his. And she said, nope, you can't have it. She turned on him, and the Mormon church turned on him. And he told me, he said he didn't do anything. He wasn't doing anything. He just had a couple of questions, and that was it. You're not allowed to have questions. You're not allowed to think. And so his wife divorced him. And he got escorted out of the house after he packed his suitcases, and he walked out. And that was it. He had nothing. He did have $2,000, either in cash. I don't know how that worked, but he had $2,000. And he called up a Mormon friend of his and asked him if he could buy this car that this guy was selling for, I don't know, whatever it was. And his friend, Mormon friend, said, yeah, I'll sell it to you, for $2,000. That's fine. Because this guy needed transportation to go to work. Well, so what happened was he went to his Mormon friend, and the Mormon kept the money and the car. And that was it. This guy is out of money, and he's basically on the street, and he can't go to work. He loses his job. So he's now homeless and on the street because he asked questions about Mormonism, and you're not allowed to do that. You can't do that. That's how, folks, that's how a cult works. This guy told me, I asked very few questions. I just wanted to see what he said. And I could tell he had been devastated by it. He had been devastated. He said he didn't do anything. He said just had questions. And he had some questions. They told him to keep quiet. He goes, why? And that was it. So his father died. He comes back and his wife divorces him. He loses the house, loses his cars, and then he basically gets robbed by a Mormon friend of $2,000. And he's got nothing. And we sat there and we talked. And he said that the Lord spoke to him, not audibly, but he learned that Mormonism was a cult. It woke him up. He started studying, and he became a Christian, a real Christian. And he said that over the next year, that the Lord provided one thing after another, miraculously. And he has a new wife, new job, and he's fine. But he said the Lord spared him from damnation by allowing that to happen to him so that he would see the truth about how bad Mormonism was. He saw it in their people. Now, folks, when you teach, you can become gods, and that all other people don't have the truth. And you're not allowed to question the truth because you're in the true restored church. And someone from inside questions it, you attack them. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's going to. A lot of Mormons I've met, they go, well, that was his problem and whatever. But I have heard so many stories over the years of how one spouse has doubted, asked questions, and the marriage is over and they've lost all kinds of stuff because of it. And there are lots of stories like that hanging around the internet. I've heard people tell me to my face, I've heard stories, it does happen. That's Mormonism. Anyway, there you go. May the Lord bless you, and by his grace, I'm back on the air tonight. I should be speaking in a couple hours on Clubhouse, just answering questions and stuff like that. We'll see how that goes. May the Lord bless you, and by his grace, I'm back on air tomorrow. Have a great evening, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye. All right, everybody. There we go. Hope you can hear me okay.
I hear you just fine.
Okay, Laura, what's the name of your church?
City on a Hill. Calvary City on a Hill.
It's a city on a hill?
Yes.
It must be a small city.
Yeah. Well, we can't be hidden, can we?
No, that's good. All right. Well, good. City on a hill there in Provo. All right. Okay. Well, there you go. Let's see. Ooh, advertisement. Football season's back. No, thank you. Delete. All right.
Hey, Matt. Carrie, she always does OMG, which she'd explain to you as oh my goodness, but I told her every time she does that,
yeah,
you're all thinking that she says, oh my God.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I can't say that. Explain to her why that's you.
Yeah, it's actually stumbles people. It stumbles me when I see it. I think, who's doing that in the room? Then I have to go stop, read the context, see who it is. Oh, they mean something different. So it's just distracting. They shouldn't use it because it stumbles Christians. I guess that's it, huh? I like the giraffe commercial. I like it when she goes, giraffe, really? I love that because I can relate to that when your little kids say something. Yeah. Okay. Wow, interesting. Bill.
I did like last night, since I was driving when you were asking about it. I did like that last night. I thought it was very good. And I'm looking forward to more of them.
We're going to do them, and each of the people who participated let me know via phone text that they enjoyed it. They thought it went well, and they said I was a good host. So my job is basically to make them look good, provide information, kind of guide and direct, which I like. Now we'll get into some teaching things later, but that's what we did. So I'm glad that people enjoyed it. That's good. So I was just thinking, I think I know what Chibutus is. I think it's an extinct prehistoric fungus from the Mesozoic era, I think. That's what I think it is. Or a form of dandruff. Either one.
Could be anything.
Could be anything. That's right. That's right. Okay, so get this. You know Flopper, our Maine Coon that I've showed you guys here. So he had to get his rabies shot today, and so I took him in and take him into the vet. And behind the desk, these two ladies are there, and I said, "Oh yeah, his name's Flopper, and he's a Maine Coon." And they go, "He's a real Maine Coon." I said, "Yeah, he's a real one, a purebred." And they go, "We're going to see," because they haven't seen one before. They've heard a lot of people say they're Maine. Actually, I'll tell you that the doctor said people all the time say it's a Maine Coon, their cat, and she knows it's not. But she doesn't argue with them. But she says that's the first one that they've really seen, and the one we have is a purebred from Russia. So anyway, they looked, and so I had to wait for a while, and then we took him into a room. He was doing great, and the doctor and the assistant, or I'll say nurse, came in, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, look at this guy! He's beautiful." And no, even the vet said no. She could tell it's a real one. She goes, she knows all the characteristics. She goes, "Yeah, he's a purebred. He's real." And she said, she actually showed me, goes, "Look at this, look at that. That's how you know this. This is that. That's this." And she said, all the other ones are not real. This one's real. And so she goes, "Can I take him around and show people?" So I go, "Sure." So she picked up Flopper. She goes, "Oh, you're big." And she walked out the back door into another room area, and I followed her out. And these ladies, "Oh, look at this." And so they really enjoyed him. And he just was like a rag doll. And that's a thing about him. He'll be sitting there, right? And you want to go pick him up. What does he do? Just lays down on the ground. "Okay, pick me up." Like, oh, Flopper. He flops down on the ground, becomes a wet rag. You pick him up and everything just falls limp. And you pick it up, come on, doesn't even help you. Sheesh. All right, so that was my big story for today, says Matt to himself. Nobody cares. Because I ramble. I've rambled about rambling before. It takes talent to ramble about rambling, because rambling is basically nonsensical talk about nothing that goes on about you're just saying something, you're not really saying anything. There's really no point about what you're saying because you're just kind of talking and rambling. And I can ramble about the rambling because you're just talking about rambling. When you don't really say anything about rambling, you just kind of ramble.
Well, while you're rambling, you remember the question about the second resurrection according to Mormonism?
Yeah.
You said you're going to ask Bill McKeever about it, but I went ahead and you probably didn't catch it, but I sent a link to the second chance theory of progression between kingdoms by Bill.
Oh yeah, they have that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then, and then also the president of the resurrection. I think people would be surprised to find out that Joseph Smith is supposedly the president of the resurrection, and you don't get one without him. So I put that link in too to that article. Another one by Bill McKeever. Yeah, and I also threw one in yesterday from Eric Johnson, as you mentioned him, because he writes excellent articles on the topic you were talking about yesterday. So
Eric does a great job.
Yeah, so
he does a great job.
Trying to keep up with you. Sometimes you're challenging. You go pretty quick.
What I should do is just say a whole bunch of interrelated topics inside of 1 minute and just watch you panic.
Yeah, then I just call in and drive the topics.
Or what you could do is go into the stack and just start deleting people. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh.
Okay, good. Jimmy enjoyed the roundtable. What?
Charlie does amazing, even under stressful situations.
He does. Seriously, he puts all that stuff in there, and I don't know how he does it, but I'm glad he does. I think it really helps the show overall.
Well,
And
yeah,
also,
I hope it helps people, that want to study further on a topic,
yeah,
because the radio pace is pretty quick. When you're on the air, you can't really stall and do too much.
no,
But when you have a rifle shot article, I mean, just aimed at the bullseye of a topic, I just love to put it in there so people can go and open their Bibles and really spend some time with all the attendant scriptures that go to that topic. It's rewarding. At least for me, it is.
yeah. Well, you do a good job. Laura does okay.
Yep, only okay on a good
Just
day.
good day. She's okay. No, she does great too. And by the way, I saw that wacko in there, and I booted him once. He came in a couple, 3 times, so I happened to see him.
Yeah, I saw that. I was on the road. As soon as I got here, I put the subscription thing on, but I had to ban somebody from Facebook too.
Now Facebook is interesting. I'll talk to you about that later, Laura.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay. All right. All right, I'm going to try some new camera work. I like this lighting right here. I think it looks pretty good. I turn the lights off back, everything that lights up the room, and it's just this one light, and I think it makes it pop a little bit better.
It makes your hair look grayer. You look more
It
white.
does?
Yeah.
Yeah, my hair is grayer. Okay, so I remember. Here we go. I remember 5 years ago, it started turning gray, and like just when I was about to turn 60, and my wife goes, "You look good with gray hair." But anyway, it's what it is. I'm 65 and still have a good head of hair. So, all right. Don't you think it's blurry again, huh?
A little bit.
Well, let me check right now what the up and down is. Okay, up real fast, over 300. The lighting is fine, good.
Yeah, you look great.
Totally.
Yeah, you look great on StreamYard, but I went full screen on my YouTube, and it's a little bit less crisp.
Okay, let me check. Well, up is really fast. It says 60. Okay, so I'm looking on YouTube also. Oh yeah, why would it do that? And it's jiggly.
Yeah, just went a little bit blurry on my StreamYard too, just a bit.
Yeah, on StreamYard it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine now.
On Matchlick Live on the YouTube, it's still blurry. I'm looking.
I have it blurry on YouTube, on Facebook, and on StreamYard.
But
Let me
the
try
lighting
something
is generally good, so I like the
Let me try
lighting
something.
scheme.
I'm going to move it down from 1080p to 720p. Right there. And, something just crashed. All right, so there we go. Now how's it look?
Clear to me.
Now it looks better? I'll just leave it at 720.
There's kind of a lag on YouTube for me. There's the YouTube. Looks better on YouTube too.
All right. I'll leave it at 720 then. I guess it looks pretty good on YouTube. It looks fine. Being able to watch it. Let's see. Oh, it's still a little fuzzy. I'm gonna do one more thing here. I'm going to go to 1080 again just to try it, see how it goes. It should be fine. And let me see. Camera. I'm going to do this, go 1080. And now I'm going to go over to the YouTube, and it should flicker here a little bit. as it goes into 1080 and see if there it goes, flicker, and I don't really think there's much resolution difference. Now I'm going to try another camera. I'm going to try some other stuff, and we'll just see what happens. There are other cameras that I can use. For example, there is that camera right there. That's another camera that I have hooked up, and it's a bit different angle. But in that, it's darker. What I would have to do is go into this.
Yeah, the one you're on now has a larger frame, catching your window behind you. Yeah.
Let's see if it'll let me. It won't let me go in on it. It's only allowing me that one. Okay, well, I'm not sure why, but
yeah, the backlighting from your window curtain might be bleaching you out a little bit.
Hey, let me turn that off or close that. Let's just see how that works.
No, Joanne, I'm fine. Bentley threw his sippy cup off his high chair and it hit the dog. So I'm fine. Dog went scrambled.
All right, let me see if I can get this thing adjusted again. Try it one more time. Opening up a program. There it is. And let's see, is that working? Why is that doing that? Oh, wow. It's still retaining that one. So now I have to go over to this one. Aha. All right, almost done with this little test here. See how this camera works. And there we go. So I'm on the right one. And brightness. That's not going to work.
Go. Well, somewhere in between there, you really went wild with the brightness.
There. Now we could do it this way.
Oh, that's like looking into the sun.
Here, let me try it and do it this way.
Diffuse it. Diffuse it.
Oh, man.
Oh, there you go. Now you're in there. Now you're in there.
See, now, you see, the thing is, I got to move this lighting up here a little bit. Lighting is really important and it's critical. And so, I don't know if that helps any right there. But yeah, I've been playing with lighting a lot. How's that look? Pretty decent?
Oh, it's very decent.
And let's see how it looks on YouTube.
Yeah, mine is lagging a bit, but let me see YouTube. Oh yeah, I like it.
It looks good.
It does, yeah.
Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to do it at 720 and see what it does. I'm going to try working with different another camera setup. See if I can get it to work. I'm going to just try it. Okay. So this is still blurry. It's not that good. I want to get a better camera setup. We'll just see what happens.
All right.
All right.
Looks decent. I'll tell
you
that. It does.
Okay, I'll go back to the Brio. Watch this. Logitech Brio, the better camera. And I do this one. Settings. Here we go. Camera. And there.
Whoops! You got me now. Take me off. Says your device is not connected, Matt. Oh boy.
Mine does that. Takes a minute.
There we go.
Ah, good. There you go. Now let me put you on solo here.
So yeah, this is back on. Oh no. Now they get back on the Brio. And there we go. Now that should work. That's the better camera. You notice the difference?
Oh gosh, yeah. You look like you're being bleached out completely by a spotlight.
And we have to go in and move the. Now I turn this thing off, and then it works better.
A little better.
There's the issue of the screen reflection, and I can move this back down to there.
There you go. There you go. That's much better.
Well, I don't know. You can see me. That's not good. I'm going to play around with a different camera setup after this. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Go check on my wife, feed the cats, work on the camera stuff, and I'll be on Clubhouse tonight at 7. Anyway, talk to you guys later.
Hey, Laura, hang on.
Okay.